So far, we have made some really good progress in our project. We have created our background video. We have created the collapsible navigation bar. We finished the home section and the about section. Now we are ready to move to the promise section, which contains a nice carousel slider. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this. So you're going to go to the index.html file and then go to the carousel section. Okay, so to create our carousel, first of all, we're going to create a div of class or ID promise to link it to the links in the navigation bar. Okay, then we're going to need to use a container, and just for simplicity I'm going to make the same div a container by giving it a class container fluid. Okay, or container. Alright, now let's create our carousel. So first of all, we need to create a div of class carousel and slide, and we're going to give it an ID, my carousel. We'll need the ID to link the carousel to the carousel indicators and the previous and next links. Okay, then we will need a data attribute, which is data right, that we're gonna set to carousel. Okay, so inside these elements, we're gonna place a few elements. So first of all, we're gonna create an ordered list, which corresponds to the carousel indicators. And then we are going to create a div, okay, of class carousel inner, okay, which corresponds to the items of the carousel, which include images and text. And finally, we're going to have a couple of links. So the first link is going to be the previous link, and the other one is going to be the next link. Okay, so let's go back to the carousel indicators. So this list is going to have a class carousel indicators. Okay, so to start, and just for simplicity, we'll create a simple carousel of 2 items. Okay, so inside the list of indicators, we are going to place 2 list items. So each list item is going to have a data target going to the ID of the carousel, which is my carousel. Okay, and also we need a data slide to attribute, which will link the indicator to one of the items inside the carousel inner. Okay, so the first one is going to the element of index 0. All right, so if we duplicate this list item, then now we're going to have 2 indicators for our first example. Okay, now let's move to the carousel inner, and before we do that, let's just make the first list item or the first indicator active at the beginning by adding a class active. Okay, so inside the carousel inner, we're going to place all our items. So each item is going to be a div of class item. Okay, and inside this item, we are going to place an image. Okay, so we're going to need to give it a source attribute. Okay, and a div, which is going to be our carousel caption. So we're going to give it a class carousel caption. Okay. So inside the div, we're going to place a heading. H2. Okay, so let's duplicate this item to create the second one. All right. So let's get the text for the headings. So the first heading is going to be this one. And the second one is going to be this one. Okay, so let's save this. And if we go back to the first item, we are going to make it active as well. So that's the first item that we want to see when we load the page. So if we refresh the page, okay, we still don't see anything. And now we are going to populate the previous and next links. So the previous link is going to have a few classes. So left and then carousel control. Okay. And we need to give it an href going to the ID of the carousel, which is my carousel. Okay. Also, we need to give it a data slide that we're going to set to previous, like this. Okay. Now to create the glyph icon, we're going to use a span. Okay. Of class glyph icon and glyph icon chevron left. Okay. And for assistive technologies, we can add another span, a hidden one. So we're going to give it a class SR only, so that it's hidden. Okay, and we can place some text inside saying previous. Okay, so that's the left arrow. We can just duplicate this to create the other arrow and just change everything saying left to right and previous to next. Okay. Okay, now we will need to get some pictures. Okay, so there is a good website we can use for this. It's called pixabay.com. So if you register there, then you can download pictures for free. Okay, and once you've done that, you can place the pictures inside the images folder. I'm just gonna drag and drop them. Okay, and now we are ready to use these pictures inside our items. So let's fill the source attributes. So I'm going to use images lecture for the first one and images puzzle for the second one. Okay, now if we save and refresh our page, now you can see our slider there. Okay, so by default the slider takes the full width of the page. So now we will need to add some styling in the CSS file to our carousel slider. So you're going to go to the promise section. Okay, so you've got a list of actions to do. Okay. So first of all, like we did with the other sections, we're going to be adding some padding top to the promise section. Okay, so to do this, we're going to access the section using its ID, promise. Okay, and then we'll set the padding top to 100 pixels. Okay. Then we're going to style the carousel. So first of all, we are going to reduce the width of the carousel so that it occupies only 60% of the width of the page. Okay. Just like this. So to do this, we're going to select the carousel using its ID, which is my carousel. And we're going to set the width using a percentage, 60%. Okay. Now you can see that the carousel is not centered anymore. So to center it, we're going to use the margin property and we're going to set it to 0 and auto. Okay. So 0 for the top and bottom sides and auto for the left and right sides. And we end up with a centered carousel. Now we will need to center the elements inside the carousel as well. So to do this, we're gonna use the text align property and we set it to center. Okay, so you're not gonna see this clearly now because the pictures at the moment, they are big, but if we had a small picture, we'll see the difference. Okay, so that's it for the carousel. Now we need to move to the images. So we want to control the height of the images. So to select the images, we're gonna go first to the inner or the carousel inner class, and then the item, and then the image. Okay, if you remember, the image was inside the item class. That's the image, and it was inside the item, and the item is inside the carousel inner. Okay. So let's style this. So we're going to set the height to 400 pixels. Okay. So you can see at the moment the picture is not centered. So to center the picture, we're going to use again the margin 0 auto trick. Okay, and now the images are centered. Okay. All right. Now we are going to move the captions under the pictures. Okay, so at the moment they are inside the picture, but we would like them to become like this. Okay, don't worry about the size for now in small devices. We're gonna come back to that later. So let's move the caption under the picture now. So to do this, we're gonna need to access the carousel captions using the carousel caption class. Okay, and we are going to change the position property of this element to relative. Okay, Now you can see that it's outside the picture, okay? But to center the caption, we are gonna set two properties, left to auto and right to auto. And now it's centered. Okay. And just to avoid the height changing from one item to another, we can fix the height of the caption to a specified height, 200 pixels for example. And now we are sure that the total height is all the time the same. Okay. Just a quick change. Since we have centered the image using margin 0 auto, we don't have to use the text align center inside the carousel. Okay. So if you remember, we used margin 0 auto for the carousel to center the carousel itself inside the page. And we're trying to use the text align property to center elements inside the carousel. Okay, so now we don't have to use this, okay, because the image is centered using the margin property, and also the text inside the caption is centered by default. Okay, so we can just get rid of this. Okay.